All right, hi guys, good morning. So as soon as I was invited to talk at TEDx, the first thing I was thinking was, what's the great idea that I want to share? अनि त्यो सोच्दै जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ आइडियाज भन्दा बढी त मैले आइडियाज मरेको देखेको छु क्या. So today I'm going to share with you how great ideas are actually killed. Right? So I'm pretty sure you can relate to this very well. So idea मार्नको लागि first step भनेको चाहिँ जेको बारेमा बोल्न लागेको छ त्यसलाई एकछिन साइड लगाउने र यो बारेमा बोल्ने के. Right? Introduction has to be all about yourself, just about yourself, and just keep talking about yourself. Then comes another thing, and that thing is called the executive summary. यसमा चाहिँ अब हामीले अर्को आधी घण्टासम्म जे बोल्न लागेको छ छोटकरीमा सबै सरप्राइज त्यही बिगारिदिने. त्यसपछि गएर त्यही कुरालाई लामो वेबाट point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4 गर्दै you just stretch it as much as possible. That's a lot of points there. And then अघि एक्जिक्युटिभ समरीमा जे कुरा भनेको थियो अब कन्क्लुजन भनेर फेरि त्यही कुरा रिपिट गर्ने. यतिमा चाहिँ नि हाम्रो खतरा आइडिया मरिसकेको हुन्छ. अब यो सबै स्लाइड्सहरु चाहिँ एकदम बोरिङ हुन्छ क्या. तर यसपछि एउटा खतरा स्लाइड आउँछ क्या. Can you guess what that is? Yes, exactly. Thank you slide चाहिँ एकदमै झिलिमिली. तलबाट बलुन्स उडिरहेको हुन्छ, माथिबाट रिबन्स आइरहेको हुन्छ. यो सबै हुन्छ नि थ्याङ्क यू भनिसकेपछि द अडियन्स इज क्ल्यापिङ फर यु बिकज इट्स ओभर, बट यु डोन्ट लेट देम ह्याभ द्याट ह्याप्पिनेस. त्यसपछि अझै बाँकी छ. के बाँकी छ होला यसपछि? है Q&A, any questions? ला अब यति बेला चाहिँ द प्रब्लम ह्यापन्स when nobody asks a question and you're like standing there and you have nothing to say. And by this time, the audience looks exactly like this. Now, interestingly, your image, it's been created by AI. I'm an AI prompt bored Nepali people on their phones, sleepy in the audience. But if you look at this carefully, even though this is created by AI, this is prompted by people just like us. We are creating this. And I want to share today how great ideas are killed by bad presentations. So, presentation भनेपछि के हो त? This is one of the most boring topics to talk, but I find it very interesting. Presentation को definition ma, one of the most interesting presentation definitions I've heard is presentation is a tool to stretch an already stretched class. Class को घन्टी बजिसकेको हुन्छ तर तीनटा स्लाइड बाँकी छ त्यसैले wait. That becomes the problem. The second one, it's a skill to read what's on the screen. Your word doc dekhaidiyo, one by one पढौँ, that becomes presentation. The third one is it's a skill that nobody likes, but we still cannot ignore. And this is something that has been happening worldwide. Worldwide, the word that has been selected or given to this is called death by PowerPoint. Now, think about it. We have nothing against PowerPoint, the software. We are against people who are misusing it. There's a huge difference. Now, I've been in this world, like I've been in the marketing world, I've been in the teaching world for a very long time, almost 12, 13 years now. And I've been asking people, why do you think presentations are so boring? And there are so many reasons they give them, they share with me. And when we put it all together, one clear reason why presentations are really boring is because people are presenting in the same exact way. There is no difference. And if we go back and still ask them, if you know why the exact situation, why aren't you changing it? There, the blame game begins. People start to blame people. And it starts from the teachers. मेरो टिचरले यसरी नै सिकायो म यसरी नै प्रेजेन्ट गर्छु. मेरो बसले यसरी नै गर भनेको छ म यसरी नै गर्छु. पहिलादेखि नै यसरी गरिरहेको छु त्यसैले I'll still continue. Nobody wants to change. Because त्यो अघि स्टार्टिङमा जुन फर्मेट देखाएको थियो, that has been told to us that it's the most effective way of presenting. And that becomes the problem. That's being or playing the safer game. But now, since all of you are business school students here, all of us aspire to be entrepreneurs, one of the things we'll have to always remember is playing safe is the new risky. The more you play safe, the riskier it gets. But even though अब since we're at a TED platform right now, TED मा बोल्ने मान्छेहरु त फेरि अति नै इन्ट्रेस्टिङ हुन्छ. What's the secret behind that? How are great ideas made greater on a TED stage? So this is exactly what I've been doing for my whole life, to be honest. One of the things that I've always heard and loved is content is always the king. Content भन्ने कुरा एकदमै important, so that's the king. But now if you think about it, content alone can sometimes be really boring because there is nothing behind it. I know something, I share it, it's boring. But a lot of people, what they do and makes it interesting is they add context to it. And context is what changes the game. If content is the king, context is the queen. And if you play chess, you know how powerful the queen is, right? So if you put them together, a king without its queen is most of the times very, very incomplete. So the beauty here is adding context to whatever content you have. Now, what this really means is if this is everything that you know, it's not always important to say everything that you know. You might want to select a little bit of it and then aim at what's relevant. Because if you think about it, content or context ko kurama, there's only one simple difference. Content भन्ने कुरा stays the same because it's the truth. It's the actual reality. But context भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ, it's always changing. So the trick here is always aim at relevant content. That makes you interesting while you're speaking. The next thing that we always discuss about is the whole fight between logic and emotion. With show of hands, can you show me how many of you are logical here? Logical people, all right. I see around 10 of you. How about emotional ones? A little more. All right, this is very interesting. And what about the rest who didn't raise your hand? Barely people? But this is exactly what I wanted to do. Because your questions, I ask in every session I do. And interestingly, if I ask 50 people about whether you're logical or emotional, the answer is exactly how you give it. So what happens is 20 of you would say, or 10 of you would say you're logical. The remaining 20 would say you're emotional. And the last 20, they don't answer, just like how you guys did. And then out of everybody, you बिसनामा चाहिँ अघि भर्खर पनि भएको थियो हैन? Are you barely people भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ no, I think I'm both of them once. Now I've been doing this for so many times and the result is exactly the same because when I ask you if you're logical, you think you're logical. And you slowly raise your hand. When I say you're emotional, you slowly raise your hand as well. But the reality is, as human beings, we're trying to balance logic and emotions together. Logic and emotion भन्ने कुराको play is a lot fun. And this is how we make decisions as well. We take most of our decisions emotionally and later try to justify it with logic. I think about shopping. You buy things you don't need and then later say you really need it because हुन्छ नि emotional decision त लिइसक्यो. अब त्यसलाई validate गर्नको लागि त we actually need a lot of logical explanation behind it. But think about it, right? Logic भन्ने कुरा एउटा साइडमा छ, emotion भन्ने एउटा कुरा साइडमा छ. If you look at the screen right now, either or छान्नु पर्यो भने is one more important than the other? No, right? Logic ma data, facts, figures, everything is important. But as well as when we think emotionally, stories are equally important, experiences are equally important, anecdotes are important because it gets us connected. So both the things are correct. Now, when we look at how human beings think, there's just one quick change that can change how people start to listen to you. So the first one is, exam दिँदाखेरि, this is exactly the structure we use. We write the definition first, and then to get extra grades, we add a lot of examples. This is how we've been doing our exams for forever. This is the correct way to write your answers as well. But if you take that answer on stage, all you need to do is reverse the technique. You start with the example and end it with the definition. And what this is doing is, firstly, stories get people's brains excited. You want to listen to them more. Now, once a story is said, the points that you want to make is going to be way much easier. Just like how this story was so popular back in the days. If I assume the average age of this room is around 20 right now, we heard this story when we were 3 years old or 4 years old. So 16 years agadi suneko thiyo katha. I don't want to ask you the story, but what's the moral of the story? Exactly. Slow and steady wins the race. Not even a word changed. 16 barsa agadi suneko story, we still remember the moral of the story. What actually happened here was we were connected through emotions because there were characters, there were dialogues, there was so many things that was happening in the story. And last time we were being informed with logic, which was a valid point that's been shared. So now if you think about this, the most effective way or the most effective structure of telling or giving a presentation becomes telling a story, which gets one side of our brain excited and it opens our minds to take more information in. And then we send out our information and make our point. That way the point stays longer and more relevant in our minds. So what we do now is we're going to make it a formula. Right? So once you tell a story, people get excited, they want to listen to you more. You tell the point or you make the point, people now remember the point, but this is not going to be enough because at the end of the day, you're just not telling a story and making a point. You want people to do something for you. And that's called call to action. That's a very marketing thing to say. You want people to take an action. So if we combine it together, we come up with a formula. So telling a story becomes the connection point. So to connect, we tell a story. When we make our point, we're adding information into it. And when we add call to action at the end, it turns into an inspiration. So this whole formula now, as a structure of presenting, becomes connect, inform, and inspire. So the introduction to conclusion, let's hold it up. If you start from connect, then inform, and then inspire, you let great ideas sticky. So there is a great idea that all of you have, but it's being bad presentation like the. So ending my talk right now, don't let great ideas get killed because of bad presentations. Thank you.